I would argue that actually social media platforms are like the very gentrification of that early internet.
Massive like stadium raves where everyone's looking exactly the same and the music sucks. And if I'm being honest,
with the girls like to the tunnel, that is like a beam of light to me. You know what I mean? It's like, it's like pure joy and resistance. Go shake that ass. City's like, I'm gonna ask you to have a permit and
that the aunties are not invited.
Drummondville, à Drummond.
What music isn't black in origin, right?
Alcohol and fucking.
Like gentrification and like social media are two different things.
You think
but
so?
I feel like, what's your take on that?
Would you like to see more? Or better yet, would you like to hear a bit more?
Ce podcast est une production Studio Space.
What's up everybody and welcome to the Current Rollout, le podcast du festival Control Alt, où on explore les facettes du nightlife et des artistes d'ici à Montréal. I am yours truly, the one and only, Kristen Marlowe.
And I, the ineffable Amai de Moïse.
Oh, that's right.
On this episode of the Cunt Rollout, we're discussing the dichotomy and ever-growing nuance between underground and mainstream scenes. And to join us in this conversation, we have three amazing perspectives, all very different and as relevant one as the other. Thank you for joining us.
Hi.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
yeah, thank you.
Let's start introducing people. Gaillance, Aisha Vertus,
Hey.
Globetrotter, and although she now resides in Lisbon, she always carries the authentic Montreal energy. I like to call you Montreal's finest. No shade.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Musician and DJ, documentary filmmaker, and Polaris Prize nominated album Masquerade.
Period.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
We're happy
Thank
to
you
have
so much. You came to town just for us, right?
Just for you
Just
guys.
for us, right?
Nothing
Exclusive. We also have joining us Peggy Hogan, aka Huali, DJ, rapper, and musician, half Chinese, half militant, half rapper of your heart. Marketing and label manager of Outside Music and Next Door Records, whose latest project is titled Ripe Fruit Falls But Not in Your Mouth. Welcome.
Thank you.
And last but not least, we have Max Honningham, also known under the DJ name Ossifer. Innovative rave series Exposé Noir, communications officer, and nightlife policies with Montréal 24/24. Oh, and also city manager and writer for Resident Advisor. Hi, Max.
Hello.
Good. We wanted to ask y'all about how did y'all get into basically like the music scene? Like what were the first like scenes that you connected with and that like
Especially in
led
terms
you
of,
to where you are right now?
yeah, in terms of nightlife especially.
Go
So
ahead.
basically, like I have a stereotypical story. So I was born and raised in the city, and my uncles were actually club promoters back in the 90s. They were promoters for a circus, for Red Light, and also Sona. They had a production group that was called 514 Production. So it was like, making parties of dancehall or like house music and stuff. So I was like introduced to them, like going around the city and just like passing flyers. I also passed flyers as a kid, 16 years old, trying to make some money.
Oh, I love that.
No, I wanted to make that paper, you know what I mean? The streets were how you're trying to get your own money, you know?
Yes.
So I was passing some flyers for some money for my uncles and stuff. So that's how I was introduced to the music and also like the nightlife. They had DJ friends and stuff, scratchers. So I was like very impressed by that. Yeah.
What about you, Peggy?
I actually moved. So I'm from British Columbia originally, and I moved to Montreal to go to jazz school a long time ago. And yeah, I was actually just thinking about this the other day. But there was a time in my life that I had no idea like what it meant to make a beat. Because I was a classical pianist. I came here to be a jazz singer, and I thought like, oh, I guess like, you make a beat, you just like you hire your band, and then you record them playing like all of the different parts. Like I had no idea what production even was at a certain point. So yeah, it was really I loved indie rock, and that sort of Mile End scene brought me into the loft party era of the 2010s, which has now been immortalized in film by Chandler Levac. And yeah, it was like that collision that sort of brought me into electronic music. And that's when I really started to think about how to create sound without the use of an acoustic instrument. And it really broadened my horizons in terms of like what my sonic palette was. And so I sit here today, still an electronic artist, thanks to those illegal loft parties.
Period.
Yes.
Yeah, so I grew up in the suburbs of Baltimore in the U.S., and it was really hard to like go out or do anything other than go to raves, which at the time they weren't really carding or anything. So when I was like 16, 17, I started going to the city to hit up raves, and at that time it was kind of like this UK dubstep invasion that was first happening, like circa 2009 kind of thing. And so I saw like a lot of really cool artists, like nice deep dubstep stuff, and just got into the scene that way. Then I moved to Montreal in 2011. I came here for school, and I wanted to make some extra money. So like you, I started doing some street team work, promotion for shows. It was just like a way for me to party for free, get my friends in, and make a little cash on the side. So I kind of got into the scene that way. And then I had friends that started bringing me to like loft parties and stuff, more underground stuff, like in the reshape area, that infamous little strip there. And yeah, one thing led to another. I started doing events, and
Thank you.
Yes, I wonder, because you started out, first of all, I had no idea your uncle, like your entire family was part of this, which is kind of cool. It's like a family business almost.
It's like my mom's uncle and my mom's brother.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
And so for you, music was already part of your upbringing, I presume?
Yeah, even from my grandfather. My grandfather had a gospel choir. And so it was like worshiping the Lord with the music. Okay.
So it's,
But like such in a Haitian way, you know, because
Right.
he like kind of introduced conga into the church because it was like jab, like we say in Creole, it's the devil.
the percussion.
But he was
Yeah.
like, you know, bring the conga so we can, you know, shake some ass and pray Jesus. I was like, you know, but even that, I feel that's a rave. You know what?
Yeah, it
You
is.
know what?
It kind of is. It's a spiritual rave.
You know what I mean? It's like in a way, like people gathering together around
Yeah.
music. It's always like something special. So yeah, there was always music around and stuff. And then, at a very young age, I was very fascinated by people with different cultures, whatever their culture was. I want to get into it. You know what I mean? I was like, I want to know. I was asking questions. I was want to know it all. You
Right.
know. And so I just like, my parents, they were like, oh, we're going to bring you to Quebec City. But they brought me to Drummondville's Mondial de Culture, which is like a festival in Drummondville,
Right.
where they have all these Eastern Europeans, Asians, Latinos, Africans, everybody's dancing their traditional dances and selling the food. And I loved going there. And they were like, because I thought like Quebec was hype and, you know, just the word Quebec City, la ville de Québec. They kind of lied to me to say that we were going there, but
You
we
were
were
sold
going
a
to
dream.
Drummondville, à Drummond. On est allé à Drummond. Tu sais, c'est pas chic, là, tu sais.
No shade to the Drummond people, honey. We love the Drummond
But
people.
shout out. But Drummondville is part of my origin story. And so, like, from there, I mean, since a kid, I always wanted to travel. Like,
Yeah.
wow, I like to meet people from different places. So I was just like, you know what? If this music this music is everywhere. And I want to see it all. I want to experience it all. So, like, talk about liking UK bass, liking indie rock. Like, I love music as its whole. So I was just like, you know what? We're going to go to this concert. It started like this. We're going to LA to see like this particular scene that we liked. And then like, I don't know, 15 years later, I moved to 3 different cities. And I'm just like, yeah, like I'm a pirate. You know what I mean?
A pirate.
What about like the DJ part of your career? Because that's how you
Yeah.
started out.
Yes, exactly. So I started DJing in 2013. But I was collecting vinyls before that, you know? It was always like a thing. The record store, I worked a couple of record stores as a teenager and stuff. So it was a thing. And then like eventually started to DJ. And then I think 2015, I had my first like international gig. It was in New York. And then like went to Europe for the first time and then like made friends. And then like I was just like, whoa, I love this lifestyle. I like my friends. I like music is everywhere. They understand electronic music in a way that it's not where I'm from. And like I have really like this UK sound. Like I'm very British, do you know what I mean? I'm very like
We can hear it. We can hear it.
you know, like
In it.
in it. And the British, when I do this, they're like, girl, just don't. But yeah, I just love their sound. And so like, you know, to be around things that are similar and like pockets of blah. So I was just like, I was based in Brussels for 3 years and Amsterdam for 2 years. And then like now I've been Lisbon for almost 2 years now. And in all different places, different experiences, similar to this, parallel universes.
Would you say you found community before becoming a DJ? Or did you become a DJ? Then you found your community?
No, so yeah, back in the day when I was a kid, the origin story is that there was a hip-hop karaoke happening at Le Belmont that was organized by Morgan Steiker, and Brittany as well was part of the organizer. She used to work for KCRW radio. And Morgan Steiker was this French-American guy that went to McGill, I think, or Concordia. And he was like tall, red hair guy. And he was booking all the nice shows in the city. And then they started this thing like, I don't know, 2011 to 10. I'm looking at
11 sounds, 11 sounds right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then they made those things. And then like, I think it was the second or first edition of this hip-hop karaoke at Belmont. And then, like, this bunch of crew of people I was to hang out with, they call themselves à l'aise. So there's I Classified, K-Trinada, The P, Connie Musoni, Green Hypnotic, Musvik. There's so many people. Ensemble, that's Dr. Mad, all these people. And then they were all in the same crew. And then, like, we all did Protect Your Neck by Wu-Tang. It's on YouTube, actually.
Check it out, y'all.
Don't look at it, but look at it. Because it's a moment in the history of the city.
Yeah.
And then all these people met and did Protect Your Neck together. And then ever since, like, you know, they were like roaming, not to say the name of my title of my new album, they were roaming around together.
A plug-in. I love it.
You know what I mean?
Period.
And then, like, I made a documentary about it because I was studying cinema. I wanted to be the Quebec Spike Lee, which I'm trying still.
You might as well be.
You know, like, I'm going to make a better Mylan Kicks now.
Yeah.
Because I already went to Cannes with Masquerade, the film, so I can say that. I can just give me the money. Give me the funding.
Come on.
You know what I
are
mean? Just
looking
give me
for
the
the
funding. I'll
funding.
write you something.
You
You
don't
know?
need no hype, man. You don't need no hype, man. You are your own, and I love that.
It's not a Leo rising. I'm going to do that for myself.
I love What's your actual sign? I'm nosy.
I'm a boss. I'm Capricorn.
See?
Only a
Real.
Capricorn would self-identify as a boss.
As a boss.
Yeah, but okay. But last thing about my astrology is that, listen, I have a stellium in Sagittarius for those who are interested, you know? Like, I'm almost a Sagittarius. That's why I'm funny, you know? I'm
Real.
funny.
You're
You
a
know,
Sag.
that's the traveler part. Like, I have 4 planets in Sag. I need to move. Otherwise, I get crazy.
And
you know
restless,
what I mean?
yeah.
Anyway, I know je déparle.
On aime
but
ça.
these people.
What about you?
Just to put a pin in the astrology convo, I feel like Aisha and I are connected because
Oh, yeah, it's true.
I have my stellium in Capricorn,
I know you're a Sag.
and I'm a Sag.
Oh, wow.
So I'm like
we know each other for like 15 years, I guess.
Yeah, we're
We don't
truly
look
yin
like
and yang.
it. You know,
You
look
don't.
at us.
No.
You're like 17.
No
So
Botox.
since you were born.
Exactly.
Since you were
Pretty
born.
much,
Right,
yeah.
okay.
We actually met in the womb.
Right. Twins. I see it.
Well, but yeah, can I ask a question to you?
Yeah, of course.
Wow, you came in 2011 in Montreal.
Yes.
That was peak time.
It was peak
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, that was peak time.
Yeah.
Like, whoa, you've seen the good shit.
Yeah, it's true. It did feel like it was like the peak, and then it was kind of a little bit downhill after, but it's changed, you know? It's like
Yeah.
different now. There's good stuff too, but it like the kind of real, like gritty loft party underground vibe, it's like almost non-existent anymore.
Yeah, and that's
but-
the fault of the government, you know what I mean? It's not even the people, it's like the infrastructures of
Oh,
this,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
That's what I say when it's like it gone bad. It's like, how can we protect that nightlife, those neighborhoods, the city, you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
I feel like to have been living in big cities, different other big cities, like in another continent, and meeting like people that grew up in that city and that have been like part of nightlife or stuff, and things are kind of similar everywhere in some ways, but then there's like some parameters that are different. But like at the same time, we're all bringing something to each other because like Baltimore too, it's like very good electronic, maker,
Yeah. And I mean, I haven't really met many other people from Baltimore here, to be honest. Like
true.
maybe none, which is kind of crazy. But
You're repping Be More.
yeah, exactly. No, but I 100% agree with everything you said. Like, we have all the right pieces here, pretty much. Like, we have amazing artists. Like, the culture is incredible. People are going out.
Yes.
A bit less and less with like the cost of life. I don't
Yeah.
know if we want to get into that, but all the right pieces are in place. Like you said, it's just a question of kind of like, okay, the city's gentrifying. Like, kind of what city isn't, and it's like an unfortunate reality. But there are a lot of things that could have been done different, that could still be done to protect venues, to support artists and stuff like that. And I think like the scene has gotten a lot more like regulated and permitted, and that can be good because like when I started, like safety was like absolutely not a consideration that anyone really had, and like the now like I've seen just this explosion of like collectives helping each other out, groups like Grip and stuff like that, and Collectif Sociad. So that's like a one way it's gotten a lot better. Like if you want to do things legally, you have a lot more flexibility than you used to, but there's just like, so it's great to have all those things on paper, but if you can't actually find an affordable place to run a venue and to do parties, like it does, what's it good for,
Yeah, that's exactly the thing. I feel like it's it's eating us all. I feel like on a certain level, even like basic needs, like we should regulate like housing prices and also prices of food and liquor also, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
because I feel
it's
like
a human right, liquor.
You know what I mean? I feel like
human
just
right.
that, like just like that, like because for example, like I'm gonna sound like silly, or I don't want to offend nobody when I say what I'm gonna say, but like I've heard a lot of like different venues such as Parquet, and I really want to go, And I feel like, but at the same time, I'm like, well, it's so east, And then because I grew up there, I'm just like for me, my perspective has changed. Like I haven't been present probably in 5 years, so I'm just like, whoa, like things are really changing. But is it good for who? How can we balance both, like the people living around that neighborhood and also the people that want to participate, into the culture, because it can both be like something like merges together or something that is like beneficial and the other not. Because like, I don't know, people are like, people are working for all these video games companies and things, or Google or whatever.
Oh, the AI companies now. It's big time.
No
and
way.
they have money, crazy money, yeah.
Damn, because like then they buy a house in Saint Michel and I'm like,
oh yeah.
I'm dead.
Who let you in?
like for real.
But I think also it's really interesting to think through, how does the scene actually work in conjunction with things like the creative city to gentrify the very neighborhoods that like we want to keep sacred as artists. Naturally, Mile End is like a huge point of conversation right now in Montreal. And the people who are like vehemently defending Mile End and they're like, Mile End's not dead. I'm just like, girl, as soon as the Aesop moved into the neighborhood, we had to just let her be. Like, we had to just give her up to those people. And that's okay. I mean, I think that neighborhood can live as like a monument to a certain time in the same way that Williamsburg is like, absolutely not what it was at
or
its
Lower
peak.
East Side.
Yeah, but these places now are sort of like monuments to, like something that once happened. And the result, unfortunately, like many years later, is this like rampant gentrification. I think Montreal actually has done a very good job, whether it's intentional or not, at being a little bit slower than a lot of the rest of North America. But finally, and especially like we see it in Mile End now, we're getting to a point where, there's the look of gentrification. All of these creative neighborhoods all over the world kind of look the same now. And it's like everyone's pulling from the same Pinterest board. And finally, I think Mile End is there. Whereas I think like we were able to resist that through, varying factors for some time. I think St. Henry got there really fast.
Yeah,
Like that was
so
the
fast.
first neighborhood.
Yeah.
St. Henry and Griffintown, and then finally now Mile End is like a part of this global creative city network where everything is the same cafe, like no matter where you go in the world.
Yeah.
And that's crazy. I feel like people don't, or maybe, I don't know, globalization is so fast now. Like, because people actually, everybody see the same imagery everywhere. Like,
Yeah.
it's like, even though there's no, like, is there really like a style from each city? Like, that survêt, Adidas suit and the little sacoche is like very Paris. And like the blonde hair is very Rio. Or like, I don't know, the new era is very New York. But do we have that now?
Authenticity, yeah.
Do we have that now? Or is it all those places all look the same? Because like
I
this
feel like
is...
commodification of like cultures and subcultures, right? And I feel like social media has like, it's been like a boom, right? It's just like spread it so much further. And now people like, things become aesthetics more than they are signifiers of like where you're from or like who you are or stuff like that, right? So I feel like that goes with the gentrification of it all, right? And I don't know if like, because I don't know that like gentrification and like social media are two different things.
You think
but
so?
I feel like, what's your take on that?
I think they're super linked.
Okay.
I feel like that aesthetic that we're sold online, because online is just a tool of marketing. Like we're selling ourselves, and I mean, I'm doing it. I got to get some money, like I said earlier. but then it's like, do as an artist want to sell myself with a brand? Like, I really want like this collab with Chanel because it's gonna make me look like this, or do I want to associate myself with something else? Or anyway, just the idea of art and brands being together, it's already like déjà le truc est écrasé là.
Integrity is being lost to a certain extent.
But then
right?
like if all the cafes have this aesthetic, and then that aesthetic is like linked to that lifestyle that people are making memes of, then it's like so specific. Like it's like a big mood board that everybody like agreed on, and they know when this is there, that means that, and that means like you listen to this music and you go to those places, and it's like it will formater, tu vois.
Format. Yeah.
Exactement. Like, so I feel like, yes, like it's both, it's like that.
I think also, not to date myself, but I am someone that interacted with the early internet. And I would argue that actually social media platforms are like the very gentrification of that early internet, where it was like this idea of people mostly on college campuses that were part of listservs, and it was sort of this like proto email, but even before forums, and it felt like, oh my god, this is like a truly democratizing force.
Yeah,
like I can find people across the world that care about like deconstructing the lyrics of this particular song, or it was a place where counterculture actually really flourished. And I think that when the platforms came in and created this advertising structure essentially around the way that we interact on the internet and started mitigating those kinds of connections, it really did kind of gentrify all of the counterculture that was happening on the internet.
I think it's really interesting to note, and you'll be able to tell me based on your kind of family's involvement in 514, but it seems like even like we think now, social media is this great tool to reach people, and it definitely can be. But back in the day, from what I've heard, they did like 3,000-4,000 person illegal raves just through like word of mouth and flyers. So it's like we're not able to attract as many people. Like Expose, we're probably one of like the bigger collectives for raves in the city, and like the most people we can do is like 1,600-1,700 people, like on like Halloween or like a big, that's using all the tools at our disposal. But back then, you had like just more kind of natural excitement, more community, and so they had like double the people.
But without sounding like cliche, because I hate when people go back to 2020. But I think it really changed the game, and it's
COVID.
Like, like people are not like at the same place mentally, like at all. Like it's something that no one will come back from. Like globally, there's been something, that happened, and every time my friends are like, oh, my dating like sucks or whatever, there's no money. And I'm like, you know what? If we were in the 1930s, we would be dancing jazz, drinking some illegal alcohol and fucking.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm like, in the 70s, there was war. In the World War II, people were. That's when shit was popping the most. You know, but now because they gave us convenience with like everything to the tip of your phone, you can communicate, do everything, and still live in that other world. But then like this thing of, you know, being with people, they cut this off of us, you know, whatever our class is. So it's like really like breaking humans because like we're going to a new age of digital.
I feel like there was a little of that like after the lockdown where like, I mean, I remember, and I know Kristen, I saw you there, the horkouts, like those like, and I feel like that was a lot of like queer and trans people, right? That like felt that need to be connected physically with each other. And so we like, it didn't last that long, but the amount of like for the time that it did last, we kept running from the cops and like we kept like changing places. Like sometimes it was like in alleyways. Like honestly, at some point, the last ones were in like a égout. Like I'm like it was like a tunnel. Like
the sewer system.
It was basically a sewer. Like
The
it was like
sewer
Mario going down
system.
there. Like it was throwing purses and shit. Like it felt surreal, honestly.
Ridiculous.
Like surreal. And so I feel like there was a little bit of that, but it might have just died down because of the fact that like at the end of the day, I feel like social media and like all of that feels like it's meant to make you feel like it's better for connection and it's gonna help, but it's kind of just like we're losing the ability to do it ourselves, right? Like,
Yes, we're using. Excuse me,
No, go ahead.
we lose the ability to
crutch.
do it ourselves because we think that, oh yeah, this government, this corporation are doing that. Oh, they're bad people, but we forgot about us, you know. So,
Well, it's just so crazy that like, you know, if you were to make it physical, basically like having this conversation right now, we would have to like go like, hi, Mark Zuckerberg, can you tell Guyance that I would like to say this to her? You know, and then she has to tell Mark Zuckerberg like what to reply to me. Like that's like, if we were doing this physically, it would be so absurd, right? It's
Yeah.
like, well, like why are we mediating our friendship via this guy? You know?
right.
because there's censorship. You know, like recently, there's this collective in Amsterdam. It's a, you know, BIPOC queer collective, and their Instagram page got shut down. There's like 70 like queer, you know, collective pages that got shut down on like Meta and stuff. So Meta is like not only Instagram, it's like all of them. And so there's like something about going back to the physical. And I know people like Gen Zs in Europe are talking about that a lot, making zines, making all that stuff. And so people are really going back to like, okay, like, because the thing is like the algorithm won't know what you're saying. You can organize better. And the fact that, you know, you go with the girls like to the tunnel, that's also that is like a beam of light to me. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, it's like pure joy and resistance. Go shake that ass.
And we did.
You know, and there's something about it. And then, yeah, it's like at the same time, auntie me is like, oh, yeah, they have to run away from the cops. Why? You know?
It's a rite of passage.
You know what I mean? But at the same
Right.
time, it's like, you know what I mean? Fucking let's go.
But I do wonder because you're from Montreal. You guys, you're Canadian, and you're not. All of you are Canadians, but not from Montreal. Geography. But anyways, what I do wonder as somebody that is a Montreal girl, but not born in Montreal, I was born in Haiti. I remember when I first started going out to the clubs, social media was how I connected with the people. Because my thing is, I hear, for example, about how you guys were able to get so many people just by word of mouth and distributing flyers and everything. It's getting in my nerve. Distributing flowers and everything, but I also think, moi je me rappelle personnellement as somebody that grew up in Montreal North. I hear you guys talk about the Marlin. It's so funny because I had no idea what the Marlin was till the age of 17. Because when you're in Montreal North, you don't. C'est pas ma réalité. We don't think about the bagels. It's
That is true. That
you
is
know, I had
so
no
true.
idea it was like such a thing, but it was a thing since like 2011. But how did
well before that?
well before?
I mean, I was like
2007.
in the early 2000s, like in Victoria,
hearing
like
about it.
searching Craigslist to find out more about like, oh, like let me read all of the Montreal misconnections because I want to know what's happening in my
Yeah.
life. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like, oh, the Deers are like active and Arcade Fire and Wolf Parade, like all of these bands that really mattered to me as a teenager. You know, like I was literally across the country, like trying to like tap into this, but it's such an Anglo experience.
It's a bubble, yeah.
You know,
Mm.
like I think that it really speaks to the Anglo-Franco divide in the city too, which was much more even back then defined
Yeah.
on the East-West
It was.
continuum.
And a
Yeah.
huge amount of those artists were themselves not originally from Montreal,
That's
so
true.
there's a lot, and no longer live here either. So I mean,
Except
yeah.
for the Deers, shout out the Deers.
Yes.
Montreal
then-
to the core.
But then there's a thing also, like you remind me of this. When I was a kid, I always collected like the Mirror, the Hour, the Voir,
Oui.
Nightlife magazine as well. So for me, it was like I knew that my uncles were making ads and those things. So I was like, wow, like looking at all the hip like stores, they had those magazines and the flyers everywhere, like on Saint Denis, Saint Lô, Montréal,
Yeah.
like all those places. So those at that time there was also like publications that were talking about what was happening in the city's culture, and like aside from Cult MTL, who's like also a young media, I don't think Cult is probably 15 years, you know, but some of them were there for like 30 years and then they closed because nobody was printing like anything. And then those you had interviews from Francophone bands, Anglophone bands, it was like a switch. It was like, it was like a moment, you know, but yeah, it's like the lack of like information and physical information. I don't know. I feel like people should go back to physical.
But I feel like what you and Peggy just mentioned just like vindicates what I was saying, where it's like it was about effort. Like back then, I feel like you had to want it really fucking bad to get there. So everyone that was there was someone that like was like on like Craigslist with like the misconnections, or was just like getting all the flyers and le voir and all of that stuff, right? Like I think like nowadays things are so like au bout des doigts that like it's more about like, oh, I guess I'll go. Like it's not like I've been looking for this for like months and I finally found a place. Like so I feel like there's like this
Yeah.
le plus facile ça devient, the less like motivating or like attractive it is. I don't know. Like, or people are just like less like engaged with it.
I think there's the convenience factor, right?
The
So like
convenience, right?
if you think about how the streaming era has devalued music, because it's like, you know, it's served to you in this never ending like stream and you're doing all of this like lean back listening. You're not really engaging with what you're hearing. And so it becomes like ephemeral and you're like, oh, I love that song, but I don't know who the artist is. Or like it just comes up on this playlist. It comes up on autoplay, whatever, right? And I think what we're talking about in terms of like the physicality of the scene is a very similar thing. Because if you're not putting in the effort to like go dig for your favorite artist, you're not going to have that engagement with the artist that like is as special, right? It's like just this thing that washes over you. It's the same thing with a physically embodied like experience, right? It's like it's good. Silver Door meant so much to me when I first moved here because like it was something I heard about. You know, people were like, "Oh, there's this place. There's literally a Silver Door." You know, and the first like 2 times I tried to go there, I like got off the metro, walked the wrong direction for like an hour, like never found it. And when I finally got there, it was like, oh my God, the door is silver. Like I'm in this place, you know, and it became this thing of like by the inconvenience, it became more special, you know?
Do you think, because like all of those things we're talking about, like convenience, like the gentrification through like social media and all of that, like how would y'all define that as like underground, like the way y'all like got your start, like the things like through Craigslist and all of that, like would that, like how would y'all define actually like underground? Ooh.
I think like people use underground in such different ways. Sometimes people use it to sell something. Sometimes it's like actually like it's grimy, so it's underground.
But like the actual, like to
But
you, what is that? What is
I
it
guess-
actually?
I don't even think if it's real, but I think it's just the lack of like capitalism that didn't enter that culture yet. You know, it's just like yes, it might be a product of, so they left that and then this is the product of, but it's not about that. You know what I mean? To me, that's what it means. You know, it can be anything, but I think this is that. It's like it's really like okay, like we've built a culture, but it's not necessarily to make money off that, but it's just to liberate ourselves from that. I think so.
Yeah, that's so interesting because I think like up until maybe 2016, I would have said the underground is anything that any like art culture that exists kind of pre-commercialization. By now, like everything's commercialized, right? Like we literally live our lives on ad platforms. So yeah, it becomes like more challenging. I think a lot about this like very academic like acronym that was applied to the word rave, which is renegade alternative venue events. And so like using that as kind of like is this a rave or not? You know, like when I walk into a space, I'm like, okay, well, how renegade is it? How alternative is this venue? You know, and like that becomes sort of like an interesting marker for like, especially talking about Montreal now, right? Like in this age of like everything's a lot more licensed and above board, like, but it's still alternative venues, but it's a little bit less renegade than before, you know? So I think that can become a really interesting, like, sort of like line in the sand of like, okay, well, the first raves that were ever raves were like 100% renegade in venues that were so alternative they didn't have electricity. And, you know, and so it's like, where does like any given rave sit on that scale? And so if you look at a boiler room, like I do not like it when people call that going to a rave because, you know, there was a time when boiler room was a little bit more renegade and
Boiler Room
alternative,
Montreal.
you know, but like now if you go to a boiler room event, there's nothing renegade about it. There's absolutely nothing alternative about the venues that they're using. So we shouldn't call that a rave. We should call that a commercial.
And also how they're involved as well.
I mean,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Hello.
it's like even that, like it's crazy. But I feel like organization like yours, I feel like the problem is the city is like, I'm gonna ask you to have a permit and but they can organize themselves within like all these groups like you named. I feel like if all those groups didn't have like you have to pay 1,000 to be regulated or whatnot, or the people could still organize themselves and make something safe, you know? Like it's just it can be underground and still safe.
I would say that I rate Exposé Noir like high on the rave scale.
Oh, thank you. I mean, I 100% acknowledge though that it's like very much a contested term, and at best we're like on the border somewhere.
You're not as renegade as you could.
No,
be.
I mean we did used to do renegade parties, and it just became unsustainable. Like you would just get busted, and you have like, let's say, a really hot international DJ, and in the middle of their set the cops bust in, or the power cuts because it's like some sketchy like, you know, rig. So like there was like a certain point in our, I would say, like our kind of evolution that it was just like, okay, we can't do this anymore. Like the city knows who we are, you know, people know who we are, so like we, you know, we just have to kind of get, and you know, of course, like we still, there's a lot of stuff that you have to do that's in the gray area, but like 100%, it's not, I fully acknowledge it's not the purest idea of rave or underground. And I really loved what you guys both had to say about the word underground and rave, which are similarly like very loosely used terms that have become very marketed as well, like everything. And I would only add, like, I think another important key point of something underground is that it's not intending to have mass appeal. Like, it's not trying to please everyone, which is what we saw EDM. Like, when I started raving, EDM was what we called music we listened to. Like, that was rave music. It was just electronic dance music. And that's, like, literally what that phrase means. Like, it should all be EDM. But since it's kind of evolved into this mishmash where, like, I don't really go to, I don't go to any of these events, but like, if you'll hear it on the radio or something, and they just like whitewashed everything and mixed it together into like a mass appeal soup. And so I think that's, even if someone isn't like, someone can be playing EDM in like a anti-capitalist setting, but still not underground because it's not tied to a community. It's meant to just be as big and as general as possible.
Yeah,
so.
it's already have been taken away. Like, I think techno and house already have been around 20 years prior to that. So it's just like another era. And like the internet also was at its peak. So
I think techno is like the Saint Henry of genres, you know?
Oh my god.
That's a real shit.
It just like and you know, I mostly operate within like the techno space, and you see it in the last few years. Like it's crazy, like the caricature of itself that it can become, you know, like you see these massive like stadium raves where everyone's looking exactly the same and the music sucks, and if I'm being honest, in my opinion, like a lot of people like it clearly, but I just find it like what made techno so cool, and it has like so much staying power. Like it's literally started in the 80s, like house. It's incredible, and it's continuously evolved because people are experimenting and bringing in like local influences. But it's becoming like the newest form of EDM. It's like the scale at which it's produced now is just like
Yeah,
mind
the
blowing.
scale is, who's producing it? Isn't it you, man?
Not
Or
that
is-
kind of techno.
you know what I mean?
No.
Well, it's so interesting too, right? Because I would say like the first step of gentrifying techno was made by a Canadian man, which is like
Richie Houghton?
yeah, Richie Houghton, who's like he's from Windsor, and he was this kid that was like literally going to Detroit to hang out with Derek Mays and like learn how to use these machines, and like in a sense really was embedded. And I think like Derek Mays like really took Richie Houghton under his wing, but then like this like white kid from literally Canada then becomes like way more famous than the like originators of this genre. And I would argue that he is like somebody that now really benefits from the outdoor festival, like hyper commercialization of techno. You know, like it's not Kevin Saunderson that is like playing these like gigantic festivals. It's Richie Houghton. And he's like the type of like white boy that these like commercial ravers want to see.
Yeah, I remember there was like I saw this documentary called God Said Give Him Drum Machines that was like produced by people from the Detroit techno scene. Really good if anyone hasn't seen it. And they mentioned that at one point there was this, I forget which magazine it was, like DJ Mag or something, that was like the face of techno, and it was Richie Houghton, and it was like a complete, you know, whitewash. And I think I hope that now it's more known that like the origins of techno are black and are from Detroit. I like to think so, like at least everyone I know like is aware of that, but I don't think that was always the case. Like I think that's kind of a recent, like it took a long time for that to become like, you know, in the zeitgeist. And for the longest time I would tell people, yeah, you know, techno's from Detroit. I'd be like, no, it's from Berlin. Like, no.
Yeah, well, that first compilation, Techno: The New Sound of Detroit, was it a UK label? It's someone in Europe. It was either UK. It was either a UK guy or a German guy or a Dutch guy. Those are like, it's like those are the only three
They're
options.
obsessed in a way that is like I could talk about it for days.
Yeah, but that was like, that's why we call it techno, even, is because like this one European man was like, oh, this is a really interesting sound that I think will appeal to Europeans. What do you want to call it?
Yeah, it's just like the soundtrack of the falling of the wall, you know, as well. It's like, so
Yeah.
it's like our youth is like taking the thing from your youth and like erasing, like, you know what I mean? So there's also this thing that is like keep happening. I mean, it was happening for blues, you know, for jazz,
I mean,
for
Yeah.
R&B.
I think that's the thing. Like popularization is like this is going into a racial component at this point
Of
because
course.
like what
Like-
music isn't black in origin, right? But to get back on topic, I wanted to ask if y'all think underground still exists or is still possible within the context of what we've discussed today. Like locally in Montreal, is it still a thing, and is it still like possible?
Yeah, I mean, I could not talk about Montreal because I'm not based here
Anymore.
since almost a decade. That has been a long time, but I know it still exists, and you know, because you guys are here, you know, first and foremost. So like, it's like if you're here talking about this, trying to change things. I mean, it exists.
Yeah.
And then I've seen it in other places and people resisting and stuff like that. So I think like it's there. It's just a question of like, yo, you know, we cannot change people, but we can, you know, call our other people that don't know that we exist so they can come and join us to this. Like we have people in different departments, different, you know what I mean? Everybody at the position, we ready, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I feel like it's still possible. It's just like, it might not be a mass, but it's still there and it's still, you know, happening, you know?
So like the energy of it, because I feel like, isn't it kind of like this, as soon as it becomes meta, it's not underground anymore. Like we're making a podcast about it that
I
we're gonna put on
know.
YouTube to promote our festival.
I know, but then, yeah, but like at the same time, it's like, okay, do we really want to be purist about the way we are with technology? Right now, we're not censoring ourselves, for example, because we could be definitely censoring ourselves and like not talking about
Mark
race.
Zuckerberg is awesome.
You know what I mean? We could do that, but at the same time, we're just like, you know what? Maybe the algorithm won't push this content,
Yeah.
but the people that know, they'll watch it and whatever. Let the thing circulate, you know, because otherwise, it's like you're gonna write like, you know, a Z and distribute it everywhere. You don't even know if the people who are gonna receive it really wants to receive that.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, like I believe we cannot use the master's tool to destroy it, but at the same time, we have to be spies, you know? Sometimes you're like, tan, 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 tan,
I like that.
you know?
I like that.
So I feel like the underground is here.
What about you, Peggy? As like, because I know you're working or you have your own label.
Why work for a
You
label?
work for a label, exactly. When it comes to like the indie label perspective.
Oh my God. I mean, that's a whole other
The floor is
situation.
yours.
I mean, what really, like, even, I mean, if we're going to define terms, like, what is an indie label? I think the label that I work for generally fits the description because it's independently owned in Canada. It does get a lot of public funding, and that's what pays my salary. And our distributor is an indie distributor, but they're rapidly expanding. So, you know, no, we're not distributed by Sony Orchard like many other indie labels, but we're not that far off. And so, yeah, I mean, does the underground live in a space like that? I'm not so sure. I think there's something legitimizing about being signed to a label in the first place, especially like a Canadian indie label with the type of history and legacy that Outside Music has. You know, I think like a label like Planet Moo is truly underground because it's much more like self-driven by like the very small ownership group, and they're going out of their way to find music that is just not commercially viable really at all. So yeah, I mean, I think there's always avenues to the underground, and it will always exist out of necessity. There's just always going to be people that don't want to fit into the mainstream. Where that lives in Montreal now is I think oftentimes I feel like not for me to even engage with at my old age. But like truly, I think it's like, you know, this work is the work of the youth. There needs to be that kind of energy. I think about like Jojo Seligman, like all of these like teens that were doing these punk shows under the Van Horn overpass. You know, like that's the underground. It's like literally kids being like, let's like take the power from the city and like have a punk show. I never got invited to that, and I think that's like a good sign, you know, that they didn't invite like their dad's friend.
That's what makes it underground.
Yes. That the aunties are not invited.
The aunties can party.
The structures change, but the people are always still there. Like there's still always new generations coming up that are into niche stuff, alternative stuff, anti-capitalist stuff. And we're just forced to adapt to the structure in place. So there are a lot of amazing venues that like maybe 10 years ago or 15 years ago would have been unlicensed, but now just in the current reality, they have to be licensed. They have to be working out like complex, careful agreements with their neighbors because the city's so dense and gentrified that like there aren't these just like mile X like warehouse districts where you can just easily set up shop. It's all condos now. And there are some positives of social media. I think we have to acknowledge, like, I think it's like 90% bad, but there is like a 10% that's good in terms of like removing barriers, which again, we mentioned the importance of effort. And I also agree with that, but like, I'm seeing a lot of like really cool Gen Z collectives that are like, they're very much online. Like it's very like internet culture kind of, but they're doing really cool, like super niche stuff. They're building communities. They're setting up like third spaces. So that's really like the struggle of today. I think we talked about also physicality, like physical spaces. That's what's getting like rarer and rarer, and that's what's super important. I think that should be like one of the main things we fight for, because like as we mentioned, Montreal, we have the artists, we have the people, we have the culture. It's really just the space. So I think that's really going to be like the next battle. And what that looks like, is it licensed, is it unlicensed? Like, for sure, there's still some collectives that are doing renegade parties, outdoor parties. I could name them. I don't know if they want to be like publicly named, but like they're doing amazing stuff, and it's like a huge amount of work. Like I do not envy that effort, but I'm really glad that people are still fighting for that. But I can see it's getting harder and harder. So there's no easy answer. I think we have to figure out solutions that work within our new reality. And luckily I am seeing there are like a lot of cool spaces, and like every space is barely scraping by. It's like they're having problems with their permits, they're like financial problems, neighbors, you name it, but like we're still fighting. So I don't know what the future like solutions will be, but I feel like people are trying to figure it out at least.
But what is the city doing? Like,
Regulating everything.
yeah, but they're not. They don't want to. They don't want to have a proper conversation. I know Montréal 24 is doing something, but it's weird that a city with that history of being like, Harlem of the North, and then second disco city and all that stuff, and they just don't want to make it like just something like common and normal. The economy of the city would boom,
I mean,
Our mayor's a landlord, so.
Yeah, and I feel like this. Sorry, don't take that personally. I feel like the city is part of the problem, but like, I mean, just the fact of like using the like symbol like of like the red light districts for like Place des Spectacles to like, so basically like displacing the sex workers and all of that, and like the history of the city to like market the newly gentrified neighborhood type shit. Like, so I feel like there's some initiatives that are making their way to like within like the walls of like the core of like the administration of the city, right? Or like the boroughs, the boroughs and stuff. But at the end of the day, I feel like it's always gonna be, it can never fully rely on the city and like the organization of the city, right? And I'm wondering if like the overregulation of things is just gonna push the people to go back to more like loft parties and like, I don't know, like outdoor like illegal raves like and stuff like that, because like at the end of the day, if we can't pay like for venues and if we can't pay for like any of that, or we can, but like that means that like the ticket prices are super high and stuff like I guess the people, like at the end of the day, as y'all said, like the people want to party, the soul is there. So like I feel like the people will find a way. I hope so. So
well, I mean, the first raves were started out of necessity, right? Yes. Like it was because of material conditions that we're talking about. Yeah. Like we can't afford a club. We can't, like the city is falling apart. So let's like take over this warehouse space. So yeah, I mean, I think that's really real. I think part of why we think of like 2011 as sort of like the peak of Montreal nightlife in many ways, or of our generation, is because it was this like sweet spot before like the city was like somehow aware of these warehouse parties, like we really did, like Mile X was a magical like empty zone where like no one lived, and it was just full of like various really cheap rent giant warehouse spaces. And like the logistics of running something like the Torn Curtain back in the day were very challenging, but it has like paled in comparison to the amount of things that you need to think about now in order to successfully have like a renegade event. Like we had our plan for if like the cops came, but it was so rare that they would show up to the Torn Curtain in the first like 2 years of its existence. When it was raided in 2012 and that venue shut down, Silver Door was also raided. Tobin Bellanger, who was doing Silver Door, like tried a couple other spaces that were raided within like the first two events in both of those new venues. And it was just this sign of like, okay, we cannot do this without the attention of the police anymore, and this was like all of the Facebook events were like, don't add, if you don't know the person, they might be a cop. Like, stop adding people. They're finding out the phone numbers to call to find out where the parties are, and it was like created this paranoia as well in the scene of like, well, who are the cops? Like, why do our parties keep getting shut down? So I think, like, people will find new ways to have renegade events. But yeah, the logistics now that like the institutions are aware that they happen, even, you know, they know how to find the information, has really changed
Yeah.
like the amount of logistics that go in.
Right, like the cops are on social media, but it's like ironically, so I started doing parties here when it was still that reality of like, you know, cops coming and shutting you down and confiscating your booze. But ironically, like the cops aren't really as much the problem anymore because they don't have to be. Like there's just no spaces left where like you can, you know, it's like you just have to use legit spaces, and those spaces will ask you to get a permit, and they'll ask you to do this and that. So it's like it's a lot more rare now, the police raiding, because there's like almost no like illegal places to raid, other than the outdoor parties, which do get shut down. But I'll just make a little appeal for the policy side, because I completely agree. Like we always will have to be doing some of the stuff, and maybe even like the best stuff outside of like the framework of like, you know, like the public kind of world. That's a weird way of saying it, but like the legal framework, you know. But I do think like when the community pushes back, we can make like very real impacts, and like that's what we saw with like the really horrible noise bylaw that they tried to pass in the plateau, like what was that, 2 years ago, and like no, 1 year ago even, and you know, it was a huge public outcry. A lot of collectives were like spreading the word and mobilizing their followers, and like people submitted like over 14,000 comments, and like that doesn't always work, but in that case it did. And I do think, like, I completely agree with you. Like, the city completely has taken its nightlife for granted. Like, it's like, oh yeah, of course we're a good nightlife city, but like we can't afford to do that anymore. Like before it just worked because it was cheap and like, you know, it was cool, but yeah, we're not there anymore. So we have to, like, unfortunately, politics, like the squeaky wheel gets the grease, and like you have to push back. So I would just say that, like, yes, we have to do things outside the system, but we also shouldn't give up hope, and like we can make an impact, at least on like the local level, like the borough level. So I would, just say, like, not all the hope is lost there, and we have seen some cool developments recently.
Congratulations on that. And congratulations on that, honestly.
It's
like,
everyone.
And I do agree, because at the end of the day, like, I'm on the night council, and like I do think there's a lot of fun stuff happening. But that will have to be continued, because this is the end of our time, unfortunately. Is there anything that y'all want to promote, plug before we go?
I just gave birth.
What's the baby's name?
The baby's name is Roaming.
Period.
Okay, I brought Roaming in Montreal now. His little test press vinyl. Okay, he's getting twins and a whole colony of it, coming out on Libra season.
Oh, I love that.
But in 2 weeks, I don't know when it's gonna be, but soon new singles are coming out.
Okay, stay tuned.
It's very
people.
Montreal, but it's very like me in sense of like also international. It's like the merge of that, and it talks about subjects like this, like in writing and in songs. So I'm excited about this.
Congrats.
All right. Peggy?
Check out my music. My latest record is called Ripe Fruit Falls, but not in your mouth. I'm working on new stuff, so stay tuned. And I'm also speaking into existence a book that I am trying to write about 2016 and the world ending culturally.
It sounds interesting.
So yes, it is very in its beginning stages, but I am using all of the powers of manifestation to speak this book
we
into
shall
existence.
keep you in our prayers.
Yes, if any publishers are listening, I'm a great writer. Check out my Substack. And if you would like to give me an advance so that I can quit my job and write this book,
right,
give me a call.
I love that album name, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
It's a great name, yeah. We have our Exposé Noir Festival next month, May 22nd to 24th. So very excited for that. Hit us up if you have any questions, or if money is an issue or whatever. We're very open to anyone's requests, and hope to see everyone there.
Thank you so much, all three of you, for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Thank you so much once again. Thank you for coming. On a aussi un festival. I'm always almost forgetting. We do have a festival coming up.
This is why we do this.
This is why we do this. Control Alt is coming for a 3rd edition. July 24th, 25th, and 26th. See you there.
At Place du Village.
Place du Village. See you there.
Of course.
See y'all there.
Of course.
Then see you there soon.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.